Hello, my wonderful learners. You're welcome once again to another episode of our virtual lessons. Today, we have mathematics, and we want to discuss something small. So, first of all, I want you to take your book, sit down, prepare yourself, and then you make some notes when you are watching the video. Okay, what do we have? The strand of the main strand is numbers, and then substrand is fraction. And the main thing we want to talk about under fraction is equivalent fraction. Equivalent fraction. Our objective for today, I want you to be able to write equivalent fractions for some given fraction. For some given fraction, or for a given fraction. Okay. First of all, what is equivalent fraction? What is equivalent fraction? If I move to the equivalent fraction, I know we study fraction from class 3, class 4, and then class 5 now we are still learning fraction. When I say fraction is a number that is not up to 1, or it's not part of a whole, just part of what? A whole. So when I have 1 and I divide it, that means I have what? This is my fraction. Or I have a whole like this, and then I divide it. When I divide this, let's see, and I change a portion of it, this is a fraction. And I can write a fraction for this, which is 1 out of 3, because 1 I've divided into 3 parts, and then I have what? Shaded 1 part of it. So this is a fraction. This is a fraction. But I want to identify equivalent fraction. So equivalent fractions are fractions with different numerators and denominators that represent the same value or proportion of a whole. Already we discussed something small about what? Fraction. We said fraction is not up to a whole. So with the proportion of a whole, just simply means what? Part of what? A whole. So though we can find different denominators and the numerators, but it's the same thing. It's the same. The value is what? The same. Okay. So first of all, write the fraction for the diagram. Write the fraction for the diagram below here. So what's the fraction of this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the numerator is what? 5. And the shaded part is how many? You have only 2. That is 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. And then when I shade the same thing like this one, I'm doing the same thing. The same thing, right? The same thing. And then I'll divide it into what? To different what? Parts. I divide them into different parts. So now, and I'm shading the 2 portion. So this is the same as what? 2 out of what? 5. Let's see something. I'm going to divide this to 2 equal parts again. So I'm dividing this one to 2 equal parts, and that one to 2 equal parts, another one to, for us to see, so that you count it, okay? So that you count it. So let me divide it again. So here, or let me just divide it from here, okay? But now count it again for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the same fraction, I just divide into 2 parts. I have got 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. So this fraction is being divided into 2 equal parts again, and now I have formed new fraction. New what? Fraction. And this, you see that this is 2 out of 5, but this becomes 4 out of what? 10. The denominators and the numerators are what? Are different, right? But the value is the same, just because we just divide into what? 2 main parts. Divide 2 equal parts. Now let's move on. So to identify some things about fraction. when we say fraction, I mentioned denominator and then numerator. When we say fraction, this is what? Numerator, right? This is the numerator. And then the down one is the denominator. So that we can identify them, okay? So we know the top one is the numerator and then that one is the denominator. So when you say numerator and denominator, I think now you have what? Identify it or them. Let's move on to what we have today. So the first examples. So write equivalent fraction for this fraction, for these fractions. Okay, for these fractions. So first of all, this is what our equivalent, our fraction. We want to find equivalent fraction for this. Like what we did from the beginning. We did something. This, I can also have a diagram like this. I will divide into two parts, right? Two equal parts. And now two equal parts, I will shade one portion. This is 1 out of what? 2. Okay? I want to find the equivalent fraction for this. What can I do? To find the equivalent fraction, I can just divide this whole, this one and this one. So dividing this and dividing this, I'll form what? New fraction. But just that now, it has become what? Smaller than the first one. So now the shaded portion has become how many? 2. Right? And then the unshaded portion has also become how many? 2. But let's count the whole. 1, 2, 3, 4. Become what now? 4. Now 4. So this now is equivalent to this. This is equivalent. It means the value is the same. Though it's not the same fraction, but the value is what? The same. The value is the same. Okay? Now, if you don't want to draw diagrams, we have a simple way of doing it. We have a simple way of what? Doing it. I don't want to draw this diagram. I have the fraction and they say I should find equivalent to this. What I will do is that this is my fraction. I can just multiply any number starting from, let's say, 2. Because if you multiply 1 by 8, you get the same thing. Okay? Starting from 2. So you can multiply any number except what? 2. Except 1. Except 1. So first of all, let's say 2. Let's multiply 2 to both of them. So I'm multiplying 2 to the both of them, right? Times and times. So 1 times 2. 1 times 2 will give me 2. 2 times 2 will give me 4. Like the diagram. Like what? The diagram. So now 2 out of 4 is equivalent to 1 out of 2. Okay? Another one, you can still find equivalent to this by multiplying this 3 by this or 4 by 8. So let's continue. Let's say 1 by 1 out of 2 times 3 out of 3 because I multiply 3 to this and this to this. Okay? So 1 times 3 will give me what? 3, right? 2 times 3 will give us what? 6. So the equivalent fraction I'm having here will be what? This 3 out of 6 is equivalent to what? 1 out of 2. Because I just multiply 3 by what? The numerator and 3 by the denominator. And so let's write the equivalent fraction down. It's 1 out of 2. 2 out of 4. And then 3 out of 6. 3 out of 6. We are saying it's equivalent because when you break this fraction down, you still come back to this. You come back to this. So all these fractions are equivalent to this. They are equivalent. Okay, let's move on and solve this one quickly. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. If you don't mind, pause the video, okay, and do that one for me. Pause the video and do that one for me. Okay, let me help you out quickly. So let's multiply a number to it, okay? Let's take 2. Let's see, we can find equivalent. So let's use what? 2, right? Times 2 and then 2. So 2 times the numerator. 2 times the numerator will give us what? 6, right? 2 times the denominator will give us 10. So we say 6 out of 10 is equivalent to 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. Let's find another equivalent to it, or you can do it yourself now. Multiply 3 to it, and the next one you can multiply 4. Okay, you can continue to multiply 5. Let's do one. Yes, 1 to it. So 3 out of 5 times which one? 3 power 3. So multiply it quickly. What will you get? 9 out of 15. 9 out of 15. So let's write the equivalent fraction now. So we have 3 out of 5 is equivalent to 6 out of 10 is equivalent to 9 out of 15. Write the next one. Okay, write the next one. Let's finish this one quickly, the last example, so that you also solve some questions for me. The last example, okay? So now let's do it quickly. Number example. The last example, that is example 3. 2 out of 7. 2 out of 7. If you don't mind, pause the video and do it for me. But let's do it together. So 2 out of 7, you can use 3, okay? You can start using 3. So you can see by 3 and 3. And denominator 3, 3. Just multiply to them, you get what? Equivalent fraction. Okay? So 3 by 2, what will you get? 6. 3 by 7 is what? 21. 21. You can continue. Okay? The same fraction, 2 out of 7. The same fraction, 2 out of 7 by 4. Let's say by 4. Okay? By 4. By 4. So we are multiplying 4 to the numerator and then denominator. To the numerator and then denominator. Let's quickly do it because we have more time. So 2 times 4, yes, will give us 8. And then 7 times 4 will give us 28. 28. Okay. So now we can quickly write the equivalent fraction. So the first fraction is what? 2 out of 7. And then the next fraction we have as equivalent fraction is 6 out of 21. And then our next equivalent fraction is 8 out of 28. 28. So when we say equivalent fraction, they are fraction with what? Equal values or the same value. The value is the same. Though you see that the numerator and the denominator are different, okay? But it's equivalent. They are having the same what? Value. They are having the same value, okay? I love you all. I want to continue studying, watch the video carefully and do my assignment. Goodbye.